All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Daily Brief. Ironically enough, we were just sitting here chatting about all these awesome stock picks that everybody is spitting out here. And ironically enough, the time, and it was after 9 o'clock. Sorry, anybody who's sitting over there on the YouTube page. Mind you, there's not many people here on the site right now, so things are pretty quiet. But anyway. Welcome back to the Frivolity, everybody. Of course, we've got the Duke of Albuquerque on board. Kevin, how you doing this morning, sir?
Doing great, thanks.
Awesome. So we've got a full team here. I think it's just Brian chatting today, Tuesday. Where are we here? I think it's the 10th of September. Yeah. So we've been feverishly sending out intro emails and the Bravado people, getting them on board, Dav's referrals. We had a contest on YouTube, the winner, Peter. So lots and lots of stuff going on with the school right now this week. So a little bit in and out through the day here while we get all the school programs up and running. But by all means, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either myself or one of the team members, and we'll be more than happy to help you if there's any questions. It being Tuesday, we're starting to see the market sort of settle back in to regular trading session here. I suppose just quick overview of what the heck's going on in the world. Didn't see too much on the econ path. Let's see where we are. Econs today. Pretty light schedule. Little bit of news coming out of the UK. I think that means that's like the unemployment rate. I'm not quite sure with the British wordology. Came in a little bit, I guess you could say probably in line with consensus. So nothing really shocking there. I suppose, everybody's watching things like China data. Inflation rates came in basically in line with expectations. So nothing really, as I said, too dramatic. We do have on Thursday ECB interest rates. We've got some inflation data coming out of Germany on tomorrow, and then we've got I think it's next week we've got the Americans coming out with their interest rate. So maybe a little bit of a vacuum here with regard to the broader market. I am seeing stocks sort of chopping around. I'm hearing a lot of talk in the market that value stocks are getting a little bit more attention. You can see Dow's only off basically like almost, what is that, about 1/8%, I guess a little bit more than that. Whereas the tech stocks are actually kind of getting beat up here a little bit. They're off about 0.6%. So S&P's following probably more of the broader market, down about 0.5% here this morning, and very choppy. You can see the W's trying to come in here on the intraday basis. And I'm hearing a lot of sort of like financials are doing really well and that kind of thing in this environment. I suppose they've gotten beaten up pretty badly. Remember, I was trying to short those Canadian banks and they all collapsed. I guess on balance, I'm kind of neutral of the market right now. We always like to just take a quick boo at the US dollar index. It did fractal out. It pushed to new lows. Probably now that we've got ECB coming up tomorrow, we're probably going to see stopwashes on either direction. We probably should just keep an eye on things like the euro through that event. I wouldn't, wicks and tails like to be eaten. We could easily see the euro move within this very wide range right now. So just be cognizant of that. It's probably going to be a bit of volatility coming into the market, and we might even see a big dump down into the original bought trade levels following ECB events. But as we sort of said before, this really didn't set up very well, so there really wasn't a trade per se. But I could very easily see, euro ultimately work its way down here. If that's the case, then we're probably going to see US dollar index rally back up top. Gotta say, the risk off assets are looking really dangerous here. I put out a tweet this morning basically to that effect. And of course, if we just look at our risk on, risk off, you can see bonds now are joining this sort of malaise, gold and yen on their knees right here. Interestingly, though, it looks like risk on is taking a bit of a pause too here. So stocks have been sort of heavy through the day, like kind of what we showed you there a moment ago. Oil was ripping higher, but it appears to be calming down. And then, of course, what the hell? Where does Bitcoin fall in all of this? It's interesting that I've been sort of, we'll talk more crypto in a bit. I've been, Kevin actually gave me this really cool sort of, news site for crypto. And, the interesting thing is I'm hearing more and more about this, and this has been the message at TRI lately. This guy just happened to say steering clear of Bitcoin for now kind of idea. Cute little video. It's only like 12 minutes long, but in essence, sort of reiterating that same message that it just feels like Bitcoin's caught in this trading range and nothing's really going to happen until this resolves itself. So I don't know where Bitcoin falls, risk on, risk off kind of idea. I think Bitcoin's kind of just trapped right at the moment. But back to our sort of broader market commentary, I was actually looking at things like the bonds this is the chart I wanted to show you guys. This is just a really simple illustration of all those risk off assets. This is just almost like a year to date sort of analysis. I gotta say, man, if you were long, if you called long bonds, long yen, look at that beautiful W down there on the yen, and of course long gold off of these beautiful bottoms here. You got paid over the past year. I mean, one hell of a trade. So congrats to anybody who did take advantage of that, but that's looking backwards. And I'm a little bit fearful here for this market that and this is the trap that most retail people fall into is they look backwards. They go, holy crap, look at that big bull market. Well, it's got to continue. I got to go in there and buy the dip. But, our good old 50% rule is such a handy little tool to keep us honest. And you can see some of these. I mean, you could realistically make the argument that gold could fall 10% here, no problem. It would not be a shock to me whatsoever to see that happen. So, I'm getting the feeling that risk on is catching a bit of a bid. Risk off is getting a little dangerous. And I actually do like the idea. Markets very rarely move in a straight line. So you can see most of these pullbacks have been basically straight down. I actually do like the idea of a nice counter trend rally up into reload zones and all that kind of fun stuff. And the cool part about it is I think the bond market's actually giving us the levels to concentrate on here. This is a stock market proxy. Probably if we pulled up the GLD, you might see the same thing. But if we do get counter trend rallies up into reload zones against these highs, fill in these gaps, I'm going to be seriously taking a serious look at buying some bond puts kind of idea up in that window there. So as I sort of said in the public broadcast lately, I don't think we're right there ready to actually like call shorts. I think I want to be patient, and if anything for TRI SOFers, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, I got a sneaky suspicion that there's going to be TRI SOF put plays on a lot of these markets relatively soon. Actually, it'd be interesting is if we look at the gold. Let's see if the ETF has some gaps for us to keep an eye on here. Boom. Hello. Look at that. Jesus, son of a gun, eh? So probably our trade level if we do good old reload zones, and I'm just assuming this is going to be the bottom. Who knows where the bottom actually comes in. Yep, look at that. It's incredible how this crap lines up. market after market after market. So I'm going to be keeping a real close eye on that gap. Look how that lines up perfectly with 78.6 there. Also, this previous high, horizontal support and resistance. And of course, reload zones. So let's keep our eyes peeled. It's not here yet. Usually there's one more push higher here through the end of September, beginning of October. I think I showed you that seasonality chart there from the other day. I think actually I have it over here. That's not what I wanted to do. Darn. I wanted to go like this, and I want to go like this. Yeah. So, where is that gold chart? So, I'm thinking, here we are, sort of middle of September. I get the feeling we're sort of in here. I would like one more push up top. If I start seeing signs of failure up in here, then I think we can start seriously considering, and we should, I think, on balance, we should keep a real close eye out for SOFs, because you can see that this is where are we here, man? Yeah, this is just 1 year. I mean, holy moly, what a range! So I got a sneaky suspicion there is a trade here. Now, so let's keep an eye, 128.96, let's call it 129 area. You can see the big hole in the chart here. Weekly W's, that weekly breakout level is probably going to be like a Wyckoff check. Probably two if we draw simple trend lines. There's this one which paints all the way down there. My hunch is maybe we do something like that. Yeah. So, and we talked that seasonality chart I just showed you. Where the heck did it go? Did I put it away? I guess I did, eh? Mid-November, that's where we should be looking for our dip. And so here is mid-November, somewhere in this area here. So I'm going to put this on the screen, and let's see if there's a trade that develops through here, because I got a sneaky suspicion there might be something. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. And of course all the gold bugs are like, boo, hiss, hiss, boo, no, you're a crook, man. You don't know what you're talking about. It's going to the moon. Anyway. And I also think, dust, some of the ETFs, not a bad idea. And actually, I think that might be an interesting sort of thing just to quick boo at. Where are our inverse ETFs? Here we are. Let's see what these guys look like. All right, so is this one of these is the I think this is the dust, eh? Yeah, there it is. So do we have a trade per se here? You can see we keep making lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. At some point this thing's going to exhaust itself. So I do like the idea of that gold chart rallying back up to fill in the gaps, and that bring the market back down, test these lows, and if we turn, then away you go. It's a little bit early for me to call a bottom here, but I would imagine probably we're starting to see lots of divergences. Let's see. Oh, wow, look at that. Huge divergence. Willie nice and stupid, so you're certainly not walking into a bear trap. And wow, look at the buying volume coming in here. So yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. In fact, we could probably even just have this as 50% roll. So your target here. And that would make a lot of sense, just basically filling in that gap there. Good point. Whoever brought that up. And if we go, 52-week 50% rolls, holy moly. This thing could jump all the way back up into the POC here. My hunch is, Colleen's favorite level, value, that MUOC right there. That's probably going to be stiff resistance, and that is that sort of just the 50% of that range. And then we get into the value trade. Do we accept back into value, which would mean, I think, just accepting back above this level. And if so, probably rally up against these kind of trend lines, test the top of value up here. Maybe run out all these stops, against this original market structure failure up in here. Maybe even up there too. Some cheeky little gaps right up in that area there. That looks interesting. So, a little bit early for me to call a trade here just yet, but I definitely think this is something we should keep an eye on. So thank you whoever mentioned that. Wow, this is interesting. Who's this? TTT. Oh, these are the bonds. Oh, geez. Well, I guess that makes sense. Exact same logic as yen and gold. Look at the range on this inverse bond ETF. Wow. So 50% rolls 23. I mean, hell, we could probably start thinking about TRI SOFs on this, buying the call options on these. And same sort of thing that we talked about with that bond market. There's lots of gaps in here. If we can get any sort of pullback, test these lows, turn back up, then I think we got something to work with here, guys. So really cool stuff. All right, so that's looking at those inverse ETFs. I guess, toot our horn. TRI SOF Club is just kicking ass lately. Obviously friendly market helps. This was a recent pick by Casey. And Ryan validated it by saying that he really likes the products and the clothes. And I mean, this stock just took off like a rocket. And what's fascinating, of course, is, it's such a great analogy. You just never know in this game. But, there's the W as plain as day. And the breakout came and it pulled back. And I mean, look how it even gave a nice little reload zone entry there. So you could even argue that, hey, you didn't even need to buy the W, just work your bids at reload zone levels. And I think this is what a lot of people got their fills on the call options on this pullback, because we don't ever like to chase. We only want to pay our price. And I mean, just out of nowhere, this thing's just taken off like a rocket. So I was so pleased. I was so happy to hear that a bunch of TRI SOFers got off their sell half on a double kind of trades here this morning. Way to go, everybody. Congratulations. I haven't heard from Zach just yet, but I do know that we did do the trade. He's sort of managing the little ZNB plan. And he's usually really good at making sure that all the appropriate open orders are working. But so I haven't heard back whether we got a fill on ZNB plan, but I would assume that we have. But if we haven't, I don't think we've missed the bus. I think we could probably hit the bid here and get our fill, but I'm just still waiting for him to report in. So we've actually been treated pretty well here recently. We got off I'm sure I already reported it, but we got off a nice double fill on our little CTG. And if anything, what a great analogy to make sure that you have your open orders working at your levels. Because you can see this thing zipped up. Everybody got their fill. Ding, 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 ding. And now you can see she's totally backing off. And I mean, this is probably what's going to happen with that little retail stock is, they go straight up. But that also can mean that once the euphoria is done, they can come straight back down too. So just make damn sure to have those open orders working at your levels. For anybody who did I wanted to give a shout out to Nathaniel, because and this is almost exactly like that gold the gold dust ETF we were looking at, where it did it made a new low, rallied back up, we draw our reload zones, and we have to be watching like a hawk through here. And I was so proud of Nathaniel because he said, yep, per the plan, when bought the levels. And you can see this pot stock is just kicking ass right now. So way to go, Nathaniel. If we can get a move back above 15, 16 bucks on this thing, I don't think it looks back, because look at this chart, eh? I mean, it's got a long, long way to run here. And then if you zoom out all the way out, holy moly, this is ridiculous. So, this I think is probably a really good example of, we came back down into value, had to test value low. we're now asking whether we're accepting back into value. And of course, everybody knows that if we do accept back into value, odds are 80% of the time we got to go back up to value high. And that actually is going to paint a nice little double for Nathaniel off his entry down here at 12, 13 bucks. That's back up at like 25. So congratulations, Nathaniel. I was very proud. I really like the fact that, because we even said this together, he and I were chatting, let's own this bitch, right? And he did exactly that. So very, very proud of him on that one. Anything else we need to talk about in Stockland? You know, this is one of Kevin's ideas recently. Beautiful looking chart. Have we been left behind? I hope not. But I'm more than happy to be a buyer on the check of this double bottom. You can see cheeky little gaps here. So let's hope we can sneak our way into this one on a nice little gap fill down below, but looking really good. Nice to finally see our CenturyLink is performing. Big breakout level here at about 1240 and change, sitting 1247 right now. And I did hear a lot of chatter about people saying that AT&T and stuff are doing big deals. You can see where our 50% rule is. We bought January calls, so we got tons of time here. But if we're really lucky, now this very wide double bottom, and you might even actually see it on like a weekly chart. Yeah, there it is. Weekly W's. You know Brian, he loves his weekly W's. So get ready. I got a funny feeling something's brewing here. Look at this crazy ass one. Jesus H. Christ. I don't know who picked this. Was it, I seem to remember this might have been another one of Casey's. What Casey, there you go. Thank you, Casey. Casey's turning into one hell of a stock picker. Holy Jesus. So, I don't know. Casey, are you on the call here today? There he is. Bearded Nerf Herder. I don't know whether you got a microphone, but dude, man, you are kicking ass. And I'm assuming this is just all the stuff that you learned in the school program, right? So, you don't today. All right. Well, no big deal. I think I had sort of talked about how in recent videos how I kind of thought that we needed to rally up and fill in this gap, and I'm hoping, I hope this son of a bitch doesn't leave me behind, but I'm really hoping for a nice little reload zone tag here after this gap fill, come back down, fill in these gaps so I can sneak in here. So keep your eyes peeled, but this is kind of like Kevin's stock. I mean, it might just take off and not look back. It's definitely possible, but gotta say, man, I'm pretty damn impressed with these trades recently. There's some money to be made in the stock market here, and we got a TRI SOF meeting tonight. Casey, can you make the meeting tonight? Because I want to see what Casey's looking at now. Oh, and he's got a new idea too. Ooh, can't wait. I'll be more than happy to subscribe to your newsletter, sir. So, if you do play stocks, there's some really interesting plays out there. This is, I think I've sort of talked to you guys about this before, and it's kind of interesting how the stock market itself is kind of floundering here. Probably our best anecdote of small cap performance is a Russell 2000. You can see for the past couple of days, it's enjoyed a nice uppy environment. We really need this thing to break out this, bust this M top here. If that could happen, maybe we get AB equals CDs up top and the stock market goes crazy and Mr. Trump's all happy, yada, yada, yada. I've been thinking, and really my opinion really hasn't changed, although this is incredibly messy. You probably can't see it. But I've been thinking that I still like the idea of the stock market rallying into this cycle event. And I'm still on my put accumulation plan. If anything, I don't really want to see the stock market crap out here. And if anything, let's enjoy this uppy market window into this sort of end of September event. Bang off as many wins and free positions as possible here, because I think once we get to this window, then the picture might change here for equities. So just be aware of that. On balance, though, I'm feeling positive about the stock market, and the internals, what I'm seeing here is, if anything, this is a really great analogy. If you've never heard this before, write it down in your journals. You can either trade the stock market or you can trade a market of stocks. And I get the impression that right now we are in a market of stocks. And it's the individual stock stories that are really the story here, not the stock market. I think the stock market itself is kind of caught in this, end of cycle conversation. Just buying the indexes, I think, is actually underperformed strategy. And I think this is a market of stocks, and kind of the same as crypto. We talked a little bit about Bitcoin sort of being trapped in a trading range. I suppose you could flip it around and say, do you trade the crypto market, or do you trade a market of cryptos? And I might make the argument that this is an excellent sort of stock pickers or crypto pickers markets. Find those fundamental drivers. I thought it was fascinating, like on this little retail stock. The banter now is that Wall Street has had enough of this sort of unicorn conversation, and just blindly buying IPOs that have absolutely no promise of earnings whatsoever. And the stock market is moving back towards these sort of brick and mortar. These companies have earnings, and they're growing their business, yada, yada, yada kind of idea. I thought that was just an interesting commentary that I read here this morning out of him. So, strap on your seatbelts. Can't wait for tonight's TRI SOF meeting. And just make damn sure to have all those appropriate open orders working at your levels, and just take your fills where they come. And frankly speaking, I mean, ironically enough, I don't know whether all you can see this, there is a big hole on this chart right up here at about $4 or $5 a share. I mean, I don't know if it's going to rally back up there, but this, if anything, is a really good lesson. Don't be in a big hurry to walk away from winning trades. And of course, if we zoom out and let's just go off of this range, I don't even know if this is a 52-week range. Looks like, about there. If we do 50% rules on things like this, I mean, look at these numbers get crazy. That's like almost $7 a share. There's also another big hole up there, and there's the original structural fail level. And the irony of it all is when we zoom out this far, you can actually see that's value low there. So it's a very interesting market here, and enjoy it, right? Because I think once we hit the end of September, things could shift here. So just be cognizant of that. The only other stock I wanted to mention here this morning, which is another one of Casey's stock, this crazy ass stock picker, is his little pot stock, Casey's Tea, actually confirmed the bought level and took off this morning. Got as high as $1.60 here. We're sitting $1.55 right now. And I'm noticing a lot of these pot stocks, like we said, Nathaniel's little pot play, he's jumped up here this morning. I still think that edibles fundamental driving event is the key here. And this is exactly where I want to be, right? These guys are basically edible central. So super stoked to be in this one. And I think TRI SOFers are going to get a nice treat here. But we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. Been watching this KPTI, wondering when the hell it's going to break $10. $10 seems to be a huge psychological hurdle for this guy. But, again, sort of our conversations before. If you did buy off the weekly W, remember, what was the one I just showed you that had a weekly W? Oh, yeah, CenturyLink. I got to tell you, man, these weekly W's damn powerful. But just make sure to have your, appropriate orders working. I got an order, sell half on a double, blah, blah, blah. Because, you can see this guy. He loves to jump and then pull back, right? And I just showed you that other little CTG, how it jumps and then pulls back. So just make sure, if you are in this thing and you got your sell halves on doubles orders working, just make damn sure to have those open orders working. All All right. Hello. I've been wondering when this guy was going to pop. So Sonos just keeps powering higher here. Still got on my free position. Believe it or not, I actually could still see another couple bucks higher here. So good to see there. All right, so the stock market is rocking and rolling. Now, actually, the other thing I wanted to show you guys here this morning, because I like full disclosure, I like for you guys to feel like I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. So here's a losing trade. And actually, I think I got rid of it too, because once it was done, it was done. And what I like is I like to be the demonstrator of best practices, but also too, I like to hold myself to account. And this was a failure on my part. I'll fully admit it. I fucked up. But at the same time, too, I want to tell you the truth. I don't want you to feel like I'm blowing smoke up your ass. And how did I handle my mistake? I didn't buy too many shares. I only bought like a couple hundred shares, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But nonetheless, I had this potential bullish bot set up, and I was like, rah, 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 I'm going to buy it. And then the market broke down, and it actually gave me a couple days to get out of the trade. And for some stupid reason, I just totally amateured this, and I didn't act when I was supposed to. Then the market handed me a complete bitch slap and said, "You idiot, why didn't you act?" And so I was sitting here going, okay, now what's the best thing for me to do? There isn't that much stock out on this thing. So I decided, I should have exited here at this 295, 296 level. I didn't, so I'm going to live with the results. And if this thing goes off the board and I 100% loss, well, I'm going to demonstrate what an idiot I was. At the same time, too, I said, I was supposed to exit this thing at 296, so I'm just going to throw my order in there at 296 and just let the market work. And sure enough, I got my fill here today, walked away, booked the loss the way I was originally supposed to. So I actually feel like this is a bit of a win for me here in that, the thing didn't collapse and go to zero, which would have been a total embarrassment. But I just was patient. I was disciplined. I wanted to get out at my level. I worked my open order, and I got out today. So I'm done with this. And actually, on the journal, I even updated that trade. Because like I said, I don't want anybody here thinking that Brian's blowing smoke up his ass. He doesn't do what he said he was going to do, whatever. So I even updated this with in the journal with what actually happened and how I walked away today. So just a little bit of an update, not really anything to get too excited about, certainly nothing to get, be bragging about. But I just wanted you to see how I handled my mistake there. All right. I think I'm probably going to leave stock market summary at that for now. Heading on over to crypto, as I sort of started off this conversation with today, I don't have any clear direction out of Bitcoin right yet. So it's very difficult for me, to say do this or do that. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm not doing. Really, I'm not doing anything. I thought this was actually a really good example of that bow tie kind of market symmetry. I was chatting with Marat earlier, studying pi and the way price moves in these triangles. And it was kind of a fun experiment last night. I pulled up the old market symmetry, this fib spiral, and I actually challenged Marat. I need for you to figure out how pi fits into this concept of the triangles, where in essence we have this, and who can correct me? I don't know the name of this particular triangle. Is it isosceles? I can't remember. But anyway, you have two angles that are the same and then one smaller angle. And when you break this apart and then you create another one of these triangles with two angles the same, one big angle, it creates this bigger, wider triangle, which you can see every time we break apart this smaller triangle, you can break it into two. And it just keeps going and going, and it literally goes to infinity here. So this is just yet another anecdote that Bitcoin is just in the process of cleaning itself up and following its very natural, very almost harmonic process of completing the spiral. And it's interesting how the spiral itself sort of suggests that we will come to an apex, that this consolidation will be done around March of next year. And of course, we love talking about that with the halvening event coming up next spring. I think, I don't know whether I still have it on here. Yeah, that's sort of this. Now, I don't know whether we have to come all the way back down to the bottom of the triangle. It's interesting how the bottom of this particular triangle happens to be right around that 8,000 area. And we've talked lots recently about how Mr. Gann would ideally like the market to come back down to about 8,500. You can see how that would be against the bottom of the triangle. I've sort of, postulated that I'd love to see a dip down into reload zones here to set up a buy window. I do find it also interesting too that you can see where the appropriate sell window, where the appropriate buy window is. This, I think we can actually call this is no man's land right now. This is like the German lines are on the left, the British and French lines are on the right, and right in here is all the barbed wire, all the massive craters created by the huge artillery shells, all the broken bodies of dead soldiers and stuff. And I could tell you right now, and it was kind of interesting that I had sort of mentioned this gentleman's video this morning. What I'm hearing from a lot of sort of professional traders is this is not a good trade location. This is a horrible trade location, and all the amateurs, they're just getting chewed apart here in no man's land. Does that make sense, guys? I mean, I can't tell you how, like 3 reasons for a trade. Can somebody at least affirm to me that they understand this concept, that we're not in good trade location here? And can you see the noobs just getting torn apart here, back and forth, back and forth? And so, this is just another reiteration of that idea that trade location has got to be our first reason to consider taking a trade. And ironically enough, 50% roll. Isn't this fascinating? How the entire bull run from the lows of January 2017, right? Look at that beautiful base. And this is like when I used to tell you guys about Kevin and I would be sitting in the lounge in that February of 2017, right in here. Do you remember that, Kevin? And he corrected me. It wasn't 2016, it was 2017. And, little girls are breaking Brian's heart right through Valentine's Day and all that kind of stuff. And Kevin's like, you take it easy, man. You'll get over it, whatever. And this was the original SEC rejection of the Bitcoin ETF. I wonder if there's anybody here in the lounge that is even around in crypto through that. Do you remember that original rejection by the SEC? And then I remember there was this funny little tail down here. I think this was like the GDAX listing or something like that. I remember some funny little business on that tail there. But anyway, this is the base of the move. And I find it fascinating that if you just do a very natural Mr. Gann 50% retracement of the entire bull market, comes out to 10,317, and here we are at 10,215. I mean, literally, you couldn't, if somebody had told you, like a year and a half ago, yeah, Bitcoin's just going to park itself at the 50% level, you'll have tons of time to either get in or get out, basically around 10 Gs. Isn't that incredible? I find that absolutely astounding when I saw that. I was just like, wow, that's just absolutely astounding to me. So, there is the Bitcoin market for you, I think, in a nutshell. It's really just a big hurry up and do nothing right now. But, at the same time, maybe Bitcoin's not in the best trade location to do something. I still think that, this is where, traders got to trade. And that's sort of, are you trading the stock market or are you trading a market of stocks? Are you trading the crypto market or are you trading a market of cryptos? I thought it was fascinating that, again, going through, and I think, probably it's not a bad idea that everybody should just pull this Crypto Panic site up and just scroll through what you're actually reading, what you're actually, what they're talking about in crypto land if you do play this market. I actually really like this news feed. And what I noticed here this morning, I thought this was fascinating, is, we're sort of sitting here musing, now, why on earth would Ethereum go and put in this little bottom here? And same thing with Litecoin. What's driving it? There must be something driving this. And lo and behold, we come out and look at the rags this morning, and, ooh, isn't this interesting? The development of Ethereum 2.0 is seemingly moving faster than expected, with all major clients now connected to each other in a local area network LAN setting, according to Adrian, blah, 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 blah. So, isn't this, if anything, guys, I love when I see this. This is, if anything, the market has caught wind that things are moving a little faster than what the sort of public is onto. And, of course, we always know the public always comes late. If this fundamental development turns out to flop, well, that's just the way it goes. But it's interesting how the traders are given a little bit of a heads up that, hey, something's going on here. And lo and behold, keep in mind this thing broke out, 2 days ago. And lo and behold, today we see news that, hey, things are actually moving a lot faster there than previously thought. Really, really great analogy. Just, check out your charts, see what the market's trying to sniff out here, and then see if you can go find fundamental drivers that might be validating what you're seeing on your price charts. Really cool. So, ironically enough, this Ethereum, it's just sitting there. Now, I suppose if Bitcoin pukes out and we dump hard, maybe that'll take the wind out of the sails. If Bitcoin just goes sideways, then I think this thing's got a half-decent shot to do something here. And I think you can make the argument, same thing on Litecoin. Just basically sitting there, it's almost like the market is just saying, okay, I'm ready to go. Now, can somebody just give me a reason to rally? Give me any reason. Just give me some sort of reason to move higher here. If some sort of, Charlie Lee comes out and says, well, things are looking whatever. She's sitting there ready to go. And actually, what I'm watching really closely here is you can see this cute little div that fired. But notice we got a really big one here that might be coming in here. We might actually be starting to talk about Casey's. We won't have triple Ds, but maybe we'll have double Ds coming in here. Who knows? So I'm personally watching this mark here, 223 on Litecoin on my MACD histogram. Keep in mind, this is slightly modified. We could probably just set it back to the defaults. Might be interesting to see what the public is seeing here. All right, so the high here, there is that bull div. It's still in on the default settings. The high here was 143. And right now we are sitting 132. So same thing as my slower version. This thing is awfully close to confirming another W on MACD. And also, too, check out RSI here. Let's see how we can do this. We'll go boom. I got to change the default color to this. Anyway. So, really interesting to see RSI. I suppose we could argue, basic trend lines look something like that. I don't know whether we will need to go off of that high or not. That's a tough one. I might even say like an RSI window, maybe something like that. And lo and behold, look at what we have happening here. We actually have a higher low. So we're creating one hell of a showdown here. I'll tell you, you never know what the hell's going to happen in the market. Anybody who tells you, I know absolutely market's going to go up, I know absolutely the market's going to go down, and, let's go back to Stockland just to remind everybody, I can absolutely guarantee you, if we did a poll of 100 people middle of last week, And we said, in the poll, maybe we'll just do it like off daily. And we said in the poll, like right in here, what do you think's going to happen tomorrow? If we polled 100 people, I bet you wouldn't even get one person that would say, oh, this stock's going straight up. And yet that's exactly what happened. So you just never know what the fuck's going to happen in this world. You just don't know, right? But I'll tell you, we're starting to get some pretty interesting anecdotal evidence here, from these, and, keep in mind, the Litecoin chart looks exactly the same thing as that EXPR. You just don't know in this crazy game. But, just to finish off that RSI thought, can this big W here actually confirm? You can see we're coming up to the big test. It will also be a test of this downtrend line. We're coming into sort of the window that's going to be the tell. And of course, here is that 50 line. What a coincidence that double bottom breakout level is 49.33, right? And of course, we're all excited about 50 levels on RSI, right? The midpoint of this market. So keep your eyes peeled here, people. I'm telling you, I think there's something brewing here. We could be really close. And, the interesting thing, if we drill down to a lower time frame, we go, show me a new high and I'll show you a buy. Well, this guy just, new high, and it's doing everything that it's supposed to do. The thing I suppose I don't like off of this lower time frame is I'd like to see momentum also push higher here. So that's a little bit of a warning sign. But at the same time, too, is this a good place to be thinking about short? Green boxes are supposed to be buying windows, not selling windows. So ironically enough, I would actually make the argument that if you did get serious pullbacks against these lows, I might be seriously interested in getting in on the long side on this. There is the double bottom, and if we just did things like reload zones, what do you think the odds are? Well, look at that. Isn't it incredible? After a while, you just go, okay, this is getting ridiculous. But I think you can make the argument now we're starting to get reload zones within reload zones. And I also noticed, too, I think there's a cheeky little gap right here. So, look at that. There's like two gaps. So, if you were interested in getting in on the buy side on Litecoin here and not chasing it, I think your level to really keep an eye on is like this 65 down to, around $65 right there. So, keep your eyes peeled. I don't mind this story at all. Everything looks like it's like I said before, nobody knows the future. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Nobody does. Anybody tells you that, oh yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen, they're full of horseshit. But if you're going to take a risk in this game, if you're going to actually put yourself into the position where you could potentially lose money, this is the time, I think, when you actually have to step up and take that risk. You don't know, but I will say that the statistical odds of this thing moving up versus breaking these lows, I think they're building. And I think you can make the argument that this is a risk that's worth taking. I haven't done too much work on other altcoins. Maybe if we have Colin, I am doing a Ask Me Anything session on the Bravado trading site tomorrow night. So by all means, TRIers, if you do participate in the Bravado, and of course, Colin, if you watch this later on, maybe Colin tomorrow morning, mind you, I know you're working, but if you want to like pre-record maybe like a 5-10 minute video, these are some of the names that I'm looking at. Kind of like I'm riding on Casey's coattails, finding stock picks, and Kevin. Maybe I can ride on your coattails to find some half-decent W's in altcoin land. And by all means, everybody in the lounge and stuff, if you see W's come in, this whole sort of 1 + 1 = 3. I can't look at everything. And quite often after I finish these daily briefs and stuff, I got to go take a little bit of a nap because I'm burnt out. So if you do see W's coming in, for heaven's sakes, post them in the lounge so we can all trade them together. Because a good idea is a good idea is a good idea. And if you find a half decent idea, man, I'll take it in a heartbeat. So, so there is your crypto summary as well. I think we'll probably finish off today with just maybe a quick boo at some of the internals, and maybe we'll send you on your way after that. So one thing that sort of jumped out at me, I saw Joshua posting these earlier today. Again, 1 + 1 = 3. We're all sort of working together here. Spreads are not terribly negative here. I mean, keep in mind, Bitcoin still has a premium over, in what we call contango. Ideally, we would like to see this breakout for us to know, like, face rip moves up. I don't really see that right now. I have to see a move above this yellow line for me to start thinking W's and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of just sort of like, well, I mean, it's not a bear. It's not like the market is in panic mode and there's something structurally wrong with the market. I think we're just sort of in, just treading water, that same sort of conversation, weekly trading range, yada, yada, yada. I am interested in, you can see, we sort of talked a little bit about this earlier. You can see that Litecoin, if we draw sort of those same kind of horizontal lines off of levels, you can see that Litecoin spreads, they're coming up here. They're pressing the highs. So if the OKCoin boys feel like ratcheting this a bit higher, and you can see that we're going to get a message here pretty soon, right? We're sitting at like a 65-cent premium right now. That breakout high, keep in mind this is a 6-hour chart, so I like to watch this on a little slower time frame basis. But that breakout high is 76 cents. So we're only talking like a dime, and that will confirm this bigger W, which will say, these things are ready to rock and roll. I don't know what the fundamental story is with Litecoin. I can understand the fundamental story now with Ethereum, with their 2.0 moving along, and the street seems to like what they're hearing. I don't know what the fundamental story is with Litecoin. If we, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. If we take a look at Ethereum, interestingly enough, screwed that up again, sorry. I think we could make the argument that a W has already come in here. Isn't that interesting? So if we do sort of our horizontal lines there, I mean, look at this beautiful W here. So something's brewing. And I get the impression this is sort of, I get the impression that the sort of developers and the sort of inside the know, I think that they knew something was up right here, right, off of this tight little double bottom right here. We have gone up and broken through these highs up top here. Now, it looks like we're kind of flaking out up top here. But nonetheless, that W is in place. And we sort of talked about this a little bit recently. There is that Ethereum double bottom. And really, I guess the question ultimately here is, can we sort of accept above this breakout level? You can see the market like zipped up and then went, oh, no. And then zipped up again to another new high and then went, oh, no. And then zipped up, right? So you can see there is a hell of a war going on here. And that's right at this sort of 183 level. So, that is that double bottom that we're showing you off of this chart. This is sort of the higher time frame conservative players. These are the low time frame sharks. And I saw like some TRIers were getting long off of these tests of these lows here, which I thought was just absolutely beautiful. But long and short of it here with regard to sort of the spreads, I think you can sort of see the bottom is trying to come in. And that's sort of being validated by the internals of this market here. So really, I mean, very interesting market here for things like Ethereum and Litecoin here. Been talking about this for a little while, so I don't think this is brand spanking new to you guys. Now, with regard to the broader sort of lower tier names, not really seeing a heck of a lot going on here. Ironically enough, Joshua's sort of fundamentally acceptable names is the only one that I really see that's actually trying to find a bottom here. I think it's still probably a little too early for us to call bottoms in the broader crypto market. But I could definitely see if those Ethereum and Litecoin bottoms hold and we start moving up in those names, that's probably going to tick these things higher. Right. I think that basically summarizes everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Yeah, I think we're probably wind up. It is, look at that, top of the hour. So actually I timed that pretty well. So I think we'll probably leave it at that for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the presentation, giving you lots of things to think about here in the market today. If you are interested in altcoins, now is the time for us to get really concentrating hard on hunting those setups. If you are, and we see the Russell 2000 the way that it's ticking up here, I think there's a lot of sort of correlation between sort of altcoins being junior cryptos and Russell 2000 being the small cap market. We're seeing a lot of money pouring into those smaller cap names, we'll say. So, put it all together. I think that this is a really interesting little window that probably, like I said, with our sort of S&P cycle analysis, I think the window goes on. My hunch is probably for the rest of this week. Then we'll get into sort of Fed watching middle of next week. But I think the market, those cycle studies are all sort of suggesting 24th, 25th, 26th as sort of our pivot. And then heading into October, I think we got to take a bit of a pause. So I think we got about a week or two here window where the market can actually do okay. So get out there, enjoy this market state, go and make some money because I think the W's are paying off right now. Have some fun, PMA for the win. Don't take too much risk. I was really proud. One site member said, well, actually, I took too big of a bite on this and I had to force myself to liquidate part of that position at scratch. It turns out that would have been profitable. But if anything, it shows his professionalism that he understood that, hey, I'm taking too big of a bite here. I got to clean things up and just make sure I'm following my plan. And so that's critical here, everybody. Follow your plan. Trade your setups. Obey risk management rules. And just enjoy yourself. All right, I think I'll leave it at that for today. Have yourselves an awesome rest of your day, everybody. All the best. And the only thing left for good old Brian to say at this point is bye for now.